Welcome to Between the Lines. I'm your host, Eben Diskin, editor of the Townie, and today we're talking about nostalgia and how it affects how we see Newburyport's past and present. And to help us discuss, we're joined by Steve Kelley and Sarah Hayden. Steve grew up in Newburyport. You may know him from the Kelley's service station on High Street by the Natural Grocer. You may also know him from the Atkinson Oil Pioneer League baseball team, on which we won the B-League championship in 2001. Most likely you're just home from the gas station. Sarah Hayden is the executive director of the NCM Hub, where we are right now, and has lived in Newburyport since 1993. She moved to Newburyport with her husband, Andrew, because they love the history here. Andrew was an antique dealer, and she had learned that her family had early roots here dating back to 1640. And it's fitting that Sarah's here as a guest today because this will be my last show, and she's been kind enough to let me do this now for a year. We've had a lot of great conversations off camera, so it's nice to finally have her as a guest. Thanks, both of you guys, for being here.
Thank you for dragging us out.
It's been wonderful having a young voice and
I don't know about young.
Well, yeah, young considering, yes, it is the younger perspective for sure.
Yeah. No, thank you.
It's been really great and I think very well received. So
being
I'm
a town leader,
to
bringing everyone together, even organizing debates before elections, I think you might be going somewhere.
Well, it's been fun. I appreciate the platform and the support. And yeah, this episode's kind of a circle back to the first episode I did about gentrification in Newburyport. But this, I want to get a little deeper because I think that what gets people so riled up about gentrification is their sense of nostalgia for the way the town used to be and how it's changing, which is a more kind of emotional approach. So, all people and communities are subject to reflection about the past, favorable comparisons of the past with the present, but nostalgia seems to play a particularly strong role here in Newburyport. The way people talk about it, the way they think about it now, especially people who've lived here a long time. So what do you guys think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that our community is so particularly prone to reflecting on the past?
May I?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to go back to when Yankee Homecoming had the kayak battles on the Mall. I was too young to be able to do it. It looked fun as hell. And after that year, no one was able to do it anymore, whether it be liability or quality of the water. And I feel like that is just something that was really fun to do. It really brought the town together in a cool way during Yankee Homecoming. And it was almost something to aim for, to get back to if possible.
When did they stop?
That's a great question. I wouldn't know the year.
I vaguely think that they might have had that in like 1993.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were talking about the other day the fireman's muster too.
The fireman's musters as well.
Was also discontinued.
That I remember.
And you talked about how that was because someone got injured, and
If I remember correctly, there was an injury during the fireman's muster when they were doing it down the middle school one year. Does that ring any bells?
No.
Oh.
But that is so interesting that you're talking about those two things that have potentially some sort of, what word could I use? Because I was looking at some of the things that I saw change really around like 2010, 12 in there that were notable for me. They were different, but similar in that I was sang in the choral society, and I joined because it was all like classical music, which I just loved. And then things sort of started to change and encompass more multicultural music and things like that, which is all wonderful and beautiful, but is what was not of interest to me. And then I think there was even some, I don't know, but some feeling that people should be including all different composers, which they had done composers in residence, but include more diversity in what they were doing, both in their selection, if they were doing a composer in residence, and or the actual selections of music. So
You think that's reflective of a change in people's sensibilities or a heightened awareness of litigation for people who feel like maybe they're not included? Kind of like the fireman's muster maybe became dangerous. One person gets injured, they stop the whole thing. So what do you see as kind of a catalyst for that change?
The catalyst just feels like liability.
yeah, I
Liability.
mean, I think it's just
Safety,
very,
liability. I mean, yeah.
and influence on what's going on in the outside seems to have had a great. To me, it seems like a great influence on local things. I don't know. I was looking at Harbor Schools, where I had worked when I first got here. That closed down in like 2011-12 because, it's not like the kids didn't need it, but there was more difficulties. They owned a home on High Street, which I worked at. It just was harder to fund and get funds for that kind of thing. Easter seals, I guess, changed. I don't know.
So for Newburyport specifically, it seems like, when I was growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s to now, it's almost like living in two different towns, and
Absolutely.
both
Yes,
are
I
incredible.
agree.
Like I love Newburyport now, I love it back then, but all towns grapple with this just as change happens, especially nice towns where property values go up and the nature of the people change. But what makes our situation unique? Because I do think it's unique, and I think maybe the measure of change that we've experienced
Old show.
in the last 30 years has maybe been more rapid or
We have
more
people
intense.
that just truly believe that they came from this place. It's something special. People around here have money. They travel, but they always want to come back. There's just, it's nice. The river. The water quality was better at a point, maybe. I feel like it was. We got the beaches right here. If you don't want to go down to one beach or another, you can drive down in any direction. The entire coastline between here and Boston, it's just...
It does
Yeah.
seem also the history of it, I feel. But it is so interesting that there is a difference, because I moved here in 93, and to now, I'd say around that middle time, like, 2010, 11, 12, things really shifted somehow. I'm not really sure what that was. It seems like outside influence. That's all I can really think of.
Right, and there's always, from over a year and a half now of doing the Townie, I've noticed one of the most pervasive through lines through people's op-eds has been a tension between newer residents who kind of fundamentally view Newburyport as a mini Nantucket in terms of the kind of stores, the kind of restaurants, kind of houses, and they like that. And then the old-timers who long for a more working class, more artistic even vibe. And these people are always saying, Newburyport's not what it used to be. Even though what it used to be might objectively have been less safe, less nice, less welcoming. So
hilariously chaotic. I
right.
think would
So
be
when
the
they
right word
say
to use.
it's not what it used to be, what do you think that means? And should it be what it used to be?
Now, see, here's the thing. Around that time, the big change that was happening was technology. Your dumb phone got smart. Your cell phone was, instead of calling people, texting people, and playing Snake, suddenly you had access to the internet, AOL Instant Messenger on your phone. All of that changed.
Yes.
And for this small town, what that seemed to mean is an attempt or idea to say, hey, this needs to be cleaned up. Some of the things we had and did were messy, or the Three Roads is a great example. Not the one they're currently thinking about a rotary, but the old one that got turned into a rotary.
That was going to be my example for something later. So yeah, that's perfect.
Did who here felt that the rotary was necessary from just your local resident perspective?
I didn't, but it's because I was used to navigating it. And I
Exactly.
think as an outsider, it was more than 3 roads. There was like 5 roads.
Where
You're
was
right.
that?
By Spofford
By
Street.
the Amesbury Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was chaos.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
And I think it makes a lot more sense now. But I hated it. Because this is change, I don't need it. I like the free-for-all.
That is a
but
perfect
that's not
example
a-
of the
that's not a
chaos
logical
that
take
people
for me.
miss.
Right. That's not logical for me.
It's interesting that it's Steve, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's Steve John?
John Stevens. See,
John Stevens.
with a dad that's named John and a grandfather that's named John and a big family all right here, I just got called Steve, middle
I
name.
see. Okay. So it's interesting that Steve mentioned technology because I was curious, like, why do I feel so disconnected now? And I began to do some research this morning when I should have been doing something else, but like I got buried in looking back. And yes, I think that technology has changed not just Newburyport, but many communities away from feeling more connected. I just don't feel connected here anymore. And yeah, it could be the changes in the population, the outside influence, and all the do the right thing, and whether it's people are going to sue you, it's more litigious now. I don't really know, but it just seems less close.
And why do you think that is, technology-wise? I mean,
I think
because you could say that we have groups like Newburyport Commons, like Facebook groups that are community groups
Yeah.
designed to
Yeah.
encourage participation, encourage back and forth dialogue, and sometimes that dialogue isn't the most productive, but that maybe forces people more online and less in person. So I'm not sure.
Well, the conversation ends up getting to some kind of point. From wherever outside out there it came from, a lot of people, because of how argumentative the conversation can get, how wild the conversation can get, they don't want to be a part of it. They don't want to say anything. There's a fear that you say something and suddenly people are looking at you different. You post one thing online, you don't think many people see it. Next thing you know, the whole town's commenting on, hey, saw that you posted this on this group, and let me tell you, back in 1970...
So people develop opinions of other people in the community based on things they've seen them post online or opinions that they've expressed online without bothering to connect with them in person, and it almost divides people before they even have the chance to have a conversation.
Great example of that. So, I live under a rock. When I saw, I think it was 2 years ago, it was freezing, it was December, and yet people were walking the streets of Newburyport like it was some kind of Hallmark movie, and I don't think any of the Hallmark or Lifetime people were shooting a movie here. Turns out the hospital had this amazing thing where people bought tickets. You walk around Newburyport, you look at people's homes, and the people did up their homes really, really nice, and it was just everywhere. Every street was just filled with people. And the town felt alive for a brief moment. And so I sat there and saying, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I am loving what I'm seeing on a social media platform. Next thing I know, everyone's coming in the gas station talking about it.
Positively.
Positively,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
that's good.
Sure, a couple people were like, oh, the traffic, all this, but you get that.
Right.
When you have big events... Oh, that was the other thing about the event. It very much used the town properly. You can have big events and they clutter things up. The 10 mile and the 5K shut down the town. Are we okay with that? Absolutely. Does it cause traffic and whatnot? Yes.
Right.
Just
So, yeah, do you think, when you look at those events, do you see more of those nowadays or less compared to your memory? Do you think more of them would help get the town back to the kind of community feel that it might have lost?
see, now you're talking about nostalgia, and then the thing we just recently lost, what was it, a couple of years ago, the 92.5, the Riverfest, there we go.
Riverfest.
It's not there now?
I thought Salisbury
Not
had it
Newburyport.
last I checked.
Oh, right, it moved.
Because it got too big, too many people.
Yeah.
Too small.
Was it too big? Because I remember they were doing work on the what I'll call the downtown area. Weren't they just what I'll call greening the parking lots and redoing the power down there?
I thought it was too big. I'm not sure.
Either or.
Yeah. I basically think, but it's funny because like even that, I think I went to once to Riverfest, but I look back on Riverfest, which isn't even that long ago, and I think like, oh wow, those were the days, those were the good old days when we had Riverfest. Like now the town has lost something, and I think we tend to romanticize things that maybe actually kind of sucked. Not necessarily Riverfest, but the Mosley intersection, and even though those things were objectively not in our best interest, but because they we associate them with a past maybe in which we were happier, we were younger, we had less cares, that we think that thing was also great. So I'm trying to get at how valid our estimation of old Newburyport is as a better golden age compared to now, versus were we just younger? Were we in a place in life where we were less jaded? Were we more open to, more forgiving of community flaws than we are now?
I tend to find the good things came from people that just were working their butts off. And were they getting paid for it? No. Let's go to Bill Colby. Bill Colby, the shining example of the most hardworking person Newburyport could have. Let's see people step up to that. Let's see anyone try a day in Bill Colby's shoes, and they would be exhausted and lying on the side of the road in half a second.
Now, you have to bring me up to speed, because I do know, Colby Farm?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it was the Colby Farm, but what else? You know, what kind of?
It's interesting though. I think part of what it seems like there was always stuff going on. There is stuff going on now too, and it drew people from outside, which was fine, and people were okay. It seemed like they were okay with that, but I think just the way the city is a small city, it has a lot of opportunity to offer things that are really different and interesting, and then it does have Plum Island and the sort of the surrounding areas also able to do things. It just seemed like when I would come, when we got here, pretty much we came, we visited, and we thought, oh, this is a cool place. Let's buy a house in the
93,
South
you said,
End
right?
for $85,000. But okay, that's
In
not
'93?
Yes.
Yeah,
in
hey, good job.
Yeah, those are times
Who
that
else
are
was
gone.
a good hard worker? Mike's Sub. Do you remember that used to be next to Davis Electric?
Yes. Yes.
My favorite sub shop. Super hardworking, always there.
What's there now?
It's a jewelry place, isn't it? Or is it a?
I know it's got a
restaurant?
great second story deck on the top of it
Oh,
with
it's
that
a-
little canopy.
Is it a restaurant?
It's near the Black Cow.
It's next to the Black Cow.
Right, so that goes
Oh,
into
it's-
the bucket of things, businesses, institutions that have disappeared from the past that we now.
Yeah, Fowls. Love
Right,
going
things
there.
like that.
Dragon's
And that's not
Nest.
to say that
Dragon's Nest.
people
Yes.
don't love brine, that people don't love.
Yeah.
you
I
know.
know there was something. It is something different, isn't it? I don't know. What is that? I did try to research about nostalgia. Like, what does it mean? Like all this
It's
stuff. 'cause-
interesting.
It means
Yeah.
sitting there and looking at the empty parking lot that was once Haley's and going,
Oh, that just really was like a stunning. It's sort of like
Yeah.
it's gone.
I mean,
Like,
someone sent me a video the other day of Plum Island Grill being torn down,
yeah?
and that's
Boom.
to be 2 condos.
courtyard roast beef going out to Pomodori's. Pomodori's did it right. Don't get me wrong. Their roast beef was excellent.
But courtyard, it was like an institution. Everyone had something. So I don't know what. I think it's technology. Some of it is technology that people just don't do the stuff. Like they're not gonna go hang out at some place the way they did in the past. Don't you think?
Do
you
they
know
want a
people hang
toy
out?
store or the app on their phone?
They want the stupid app on their phone.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of those businesses can definitely be explained by
I don't want
technology.
that.
And
I
think
don't like it.
There's less of a appetite for human connection because you can get that satisfied by scrolling on your phone or by
Ugh.
being online. That's part of what you're saying.
Yeah,
when you
but
keep
this
going back
is
to
not.
technology.
They're finding now. I like to say that. It's
Right,
not so,
right.
It's not so good for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons.
So, what pieces of, we've talked about a few of them, what pieces of Newburyport have you mourned the most that have disappeared, that you see as representative of, if they were still here, the town would be a better place?
Do it. Say the old Brown School.
Actually,
The
yes,
schools, that's a whole other
Say
subject,
say
yeah.
local community schools versus trying to have a
that
bigger
was
singular
a
system.
huge thing for us because when we moved here in '93, that was like the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
The district schools, like your neighborhood school. So of course, Matthew walked to school. Like, that's great. It was awesome.
When we talked a few episodes ago about
The Brown School, too,
neighborhood
sad.
culture and how that's been eroded in favor of a more centralized community, because there used to be neighborhood store. Every neighborhood had
Yes.
not just the three that we grew up with, but like every
Little
neighborhood had
candy
their own
stores,
elementary
yeah,
school, and then there were neighborhood corner stores like Stickney's.
I
And
can only remember the
We
Kelley
had
school
Stickney's.
being there.
Right, and the neighborhoods had their own barbershops. They had, and it was a cohesive focal point for neighborhoods to come and bond. And now we have a much more vibrant, lively, centralized downtown with a lot more resources. But at the expense of that, you have
Yeah.
neighborhood culture is now fading because there's no more Brown School, no more Kelley School, no more Stickney's. And then everyone goes to the Bresnahan. Everyone comes downtown for pretty much anything they need. I drove up Warren Street the other day, and I saw Port Peyton Paper, and I'd forgotten about Port Peyton Paper. And I was like, wow, this is a neighborhood store. This is just
Yeah.
right in the north end here, and
Yeah.
there's just it's surrounded by houses. You don't see that throughout
Yeah.
town anymore, and I think losing that is part of what we're talking about.
They're still there, are they? Aren't
They are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's also learning from what we think is amazing. Again, the chaos of having. So you had all those local schools back in the day, and children being children, they'd all just rag on each other for not being at the school that they went to.
Right.
The old school chaos.
Right, and they went to a high school. Then they all didn't know each other, and it was so. Then now I think maybe there is more community cohesion because everyone goes to the same elementary school, same middle school, same high school. So we maybe look back on that and think, oh, maybe that that would have been better if they could have all gone to different neighborhood schools like they used to. But is that a case of us looking objectively at the situation, or because we grew up a certain way with 3 elementary schools, we think that is the best approach because we're looking at it through a rose-colored nostalgic lens?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like this in other communities. I mean, I imagine it would be, but I do think Newburyport is different for some reason. It seems because it's got the history that clearly it's a early beginning spot in America, right? And certainly New England and the whole revolution and all of that, and that seems to be pretty important. And I think that has something to do with it. It seems like there's like multiple things going on when we're talking about this topic. I mean, just look at kids playing outside. No one plays outside. They're having these special things from youth services to play outside, like having monitors watch from neighborhoods so kids don't get hurt.
Right.
I mean, we're like, go.
Well,
You know?
let me bring up this example. So I think when I was a kid, I played video games, right? But I would play video games with friends who came over to my house, and that felt social to me. But my parents would say the same thing. They'd say, like, oh,
Yes.
you need to go outside. When we were kids, we went outside, and we would go outside. But the video games were relatively new as a phenomenon
Yes.
that were capturing young kids' attention. Now that I'm older, I look at kids who play video games, and I say, that's not social. Because they don't play games with kids
Right.
in their basements, in their rooms. They're playing remotely with kids they don't even know,
Right.
halfway across the world, which is not technology that we play.
I loved that. The online games I played as a kid got me talking to people in Japan, people in Asia, Europe,
Right,
all over
and
the
there's
world.
benefit to that.
And it was just the coolest thing to sit there and like, oh, I have to know all the time zones for crying out
But in
loud.
terms of community building and building relationships with people down the street, your neighbors, what you're talking about, playing outside, riding your bike to your neighbor's house,
Yeah.
that's replaced by playing
Some
a game
kind
with
of
someone in
giant-
Japan, which has value, cultural exchange. There's access to a lot more people. But I think someone of an older generation would look at that and say, this is worse than when I grew up, which is playing outside in my yard with my neighbors. And I
Yeah.
think there's a spectrum of that where everyone looks at one generation behind them and thinks that is worse than when I grew up. And I don't know if people are longing for the actual past or the feeling of being younger in that past. Like our generation romanticizes the 90s, early 2000s, And there's less technology. Kids played outside, whatever.
That's why they brought back X-Men '97.
that the reboots. Hot dogs were only 25 cents.
Someone bring back in-street hot dog. Shirley's place. There we go.
Right. But was that really better?
I missed that now that you mention it.
Yeah, I'm good at this. See the upside
Really
of
very
this is a good one.
depressed.
being at the gas station. I get to have all these conversations.
Right. Well, it's actually a social place.
It's a unique opportunity where you get to talk to people. And you get to hear them out, no matter what the topic might be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I saw that even spending a couple hours there the other morning filming for some Townie content and just like seeing how, it is almost a third space in a community.
It's so interesting.
Where people can, they're not really stopping and sitting around and talking. They're kind of passing through. But yeah, there are real conversations, and it's a cool way of measuring where people are at, what they're thinking about local issues and whatever.
Like going back to Pioneer Park, though, the Pioneer Park that you and me know, with that big parking lot always filled with mud, everything's just completely different there now. It's so much nicer.
Yeah. But when they were renovating the parking last summer or whatever, they took away all the the trees and they made that parking lot on the left. The cars used to just have to park like on the street or in the trees. And when I saw the construction that was being done on that, I was not happy. I was like, why? This is the way they've always done it. It always worked. What's the worst thing that happened when we had to park in the trees? And objectively, nice parking lot. They did a good job. It looks nice. No one's gonna miss the old way of parking. But I was young and playing Pioneer League baseball and happy and have fond memories of that. So them changing anything about that time period is like them uprooting me from that past. I think that's
Not
how
only
people
that,
feel.
How dare they make it so children won't experience having to step on these rickety boards so they don't go 2 feet in the mud?
Right? No, exactly.
Well,
and there's no logical.
Nice everything up a bit. Everything's nice. It's
right.
Nice.
But yeah. No, and that's. I think nice is good.
It is good. Yes.
But could it be better?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring up the baseball field behind the middle school because that hill was my sledding hill. And I had to cry a little watching as they destroyed that to put up the retaining wall.
Yes.
One of the coolest things about that field, don't get me wrong, that field was a great way to sprain your ankle. There were divots everywhere. But whether it be baseball or softball, playing and having to run all the way up that hill and
funny.
Seeing people actually hit the ball over the hill, over that wall, over that fence. It's like a unique thing that I kind of wish they kept in the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the question of like, to what extent do you preserve elements of a town, a park, whatever it might be, for either historic reasons, emotional, nostalgic reasons, and to what extent do you strive toward progress, whatever progress might look like?
Right.
When is it progress, and when is it fixing something that isn't broken?
I think that's what they're doing with that story of, imagined or reimagined or whatever.
Oh, the one with the rotary there, yeah.
The other,
Well,
and
with
they
the
have a
poor-
survey
yeah.
just to try to get ahead
Well, that's my
of
thought, exactly.
the development.
My thought, I know they're doing the Kmart redevelopment, adding housing, whatever, and I saw the sign. It's like, what's the next step in Story Ave's future? And I was thinking, Story Ave's fine to me. Like, what do you need to change with Story Ave?
Apparently,
That's great.
yeah, they're.
Like, I know there's the empty C&J law, which they should probably do something with.
I mean,
and-
I think there's also areas that they could, fix up.
right. Yeah.
So
I,
it's looking at what do people think? What do they want? Do they want this? Do they want all this development? And to try to
Right.
get ahead of it before we're behind it, like the Kmart thing, which is going to happen, right? That's
yeah.
pretty big, a lot of water. We don't have to talk about that here, but
Well,
That's logistics. The plans versus reality. That's another great example. The State Street gas station being turned into that actually pretty beautiful 2 buildings.
the
Four.
condos, yeah.
4.
for residents on the hill,
The top of State Street, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yes, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guarantee you not everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
And they think, well, not that they want us to stay at a gas station, but we don't need
I
more
went to that
condos. It
gas
could be
station.
something
Well,
else.
I
It could be
saw
something.
an ad for it, oddly enough, on the TV. I'm just like, wait a minute, that's not like what the property looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well, what
AI generated.
what parts of town feel emotionally unchanged to you? You know, we talk about things that have changed. You know, as everything disappears, as agave closes, oregano closes, it can feel like we're living in a different community. But what has remained the same? It could be, you know, businesses. It could be just a corner of town that feels the same as it did 20 years ago.
Worst part is I had it and I forgot it. The answer to that is sports for people that grow up here. That you and me,
Yeah.
almost everyone who comes into the gas station, that is the core of this town. People who just played sports with each other, grew up with each other, and that's how they remember it. And that's why everyone goes to the park lunch to go see their old photos of when they were here in Newburyport High and reminisce.
Yeah.
It's
That's a good one.
the good days of Newburyport are actually encapsulated into a place that people had to run into a burning building to go save some of the relics of the past.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what it's worth. It's worth everything.
Yeah.
And that's
That's a great answer.
I accidentally hit the nail on the head for Newburyport happiness and joy. That's what we fight for, whether it be one side or the other, whether people want things to stay the same or change.
But it's so sort of interesting because I don't know how. I'm wondering how many young adults, you know, like your age, a little younger, and then just older, not maybe as old as I am, but who would want to play in some sort of like team sports. Are they happening now?
Team sports?
You know,
Like pickup sport, like
yeah,
like softball. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
mean,
I'm going to
stuff-
tie back to
Yeah.
the question or stuff about people not using the basketball courts. So one of the kids that works for me, this was when there was still snow on the ground, was looking for a place to play basketball. He completely forgot that the middle school had basketball hoops. I remembered that they were plowed because the kids were using them for school. And when there was still snow on the ground, all of his friends, they're probably 26 to 28, went to play basketball on February or early March day. Like, we have a bunch of courts. People definitely use them. It's just, is it organized? Is it regulated? Is
Yeah,
it
that's
time
interesting.
I think
slotted?
there is the appetite for it. I think it's all about awareness and
Yeah.
motivation to actually take the
Again, the
go out on a limb and just do it as an
Yeah.
adult.
I think that you know the time also got shorter and shorter with these changes. Like you think about the stores that you know have sold off and the reasons why. It just seems like those have come faster and faster. You know, so you guys and me to a degree, but more your age, are experiencing. Like you had the longevity of some things, and then now it seems like chop, chop, chop.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't like that so much. I had a longer period of time.
Right.
You know, we moved here in '93, but still where we moved from hadn't started changing a lot. But of course now it's different, and I long for that. You know, where I grew up early. You know, before. But it just seems like technology also has had a great impact on how people.
I want to go
hang
back
out.
to people. I feel like I was born in '89, and I feel like I was blessed with knowing the greatest generation, the people who came back from World War II, who would tell you, hey, quit being stupid. Mr. Pettingale with his baseball camps, he wasn't just a coach, he was baseball in Newburyport. Coach Lucy, same thing with basketball. It was
That's a
people
point, too.
who put if their effort was rewarded proper, they would have won the Powerball.
So the solution is to, whether it happens to the institutions, as long as the people retain the passion of a Coach Lucy or Coach Pettingill, then we're in good shape.
It's like telling people to step up to join whatever random groups there are down City Hall to help manage and regulate all this stuff. Everyone has an opinion, but the people who actually have to sift through the stuff, make it happen, write out the paperwork, do the plans, that goes beyond opinion, and most of those I don't think have a much of a monetary gain to them.
Right. Well, it's engagement, it's volunteerism, it's community participation, and I think the more people do that, the better. The more people do that, the more the town goes on the trajectory that everyone wants it to go on. The more people disengage, the less people participate, the less people vote, then the town starts to go in a direction that, maybe is guided more by money or by influences that aren't aligned with those of the views of people who live here.
It is an interesting discussion, and I do think there is something to what Steve said about the older generation and just having such an influence on younger people. And there was ways to connect. I just don't think those exist. I just don't. Do you think they exist? I don't. Do you?
I'd say every former mayor has a way to connect with them if you really want to just talk old school townie anything.
You mean ways to connect to people in politics, or ways to connect with each other?
I say with each other.
My answer to that is the awareness thing. I mean, I wrote an article about my softball league that I play in, which is a pickup, very casual game, and I've been doing it for 13 years, and everyone who plays loves it. They're obsessed with it, and they keep coming back. But no one knows it's happening.
I was just going to say, I don't even know what you're talking about. Not that I would be a part of it, but I couldn't
Sarah's
say...
in. Second base. But it's everyone. People are looking for that. I get when I post an article about it, I get comments like, "Oh, people tag their friends like, this would be fun. We should do this." People, adults, they're busy. It's not a priority for them. But the ones that do step out and actually come, they love it. Even the most skeptical people. And for me, it's a way of recapturing what Steve was talking about. The feeling of playing sports as a kid when there were really no stakes, because the softball league is barely a league. It's a pickup game. We barely keep score. It's just childhood fun.
I wonder if the pickleball phenomena has something to do with what we're talking about, sort of disconnection, more, across the nation because of technology. It just seems like such an interesting thing that is the fastest growing sport in the world now. It's like global.
Yeah, no, that's true. And we just play pickleball here in Newburyport.
I mean, and just a handful of years ago, I just remember, just barely starting and hearing about it. And of course, I thought we should try to film it and learn how to do the calling. People poo-pooed me because they're like, pickleball. Ugh.
I didn't think pickleball would take off. I was like, this isn't going to go anywhere.
Really driving all the way to Boston, I think 2 nights a week to go play pickleball, which more to them. I can remember driving like 30 minutes to go to parkour gyms or something like that. Just things that at the time didn't exist in Newburyport.
All right. No, so it's good that we have opportunities for that. And I think, again, about the technology and the opportunities for connection, I've talked to John Giordano on, I think it was my first episode again, about club culture and how the decline of community groups and clubs, and how in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, Newburyport had over 200 clubs and societies that people could belong to, from like of the Elks Lions Club variety, and now there's like
was the
maybe
Sportsman's Lodge a club? I can't remember.
Is what?
The Sportsman's Lodge? Anyone here?
I don't know, but stuff like that. Like there's like a dozen of those now, maybe. Bowling leagues.
Yeah, the
right?
Neps
like
was in our backyard, sort of over in
Neptune's
South
Bowl
End.
Club, things like that. People could join these things and the clubs would put on events. They would do events with other clubs. Everyone was part of it. That was part of your identity. And there was, for not a big town, there were so many clubs and bowling leagues, sports leagues, casual pickup leagues, kind of like the softball thing I do. And the decline of that over the years, I think, has been exacerbated by technology, results in having fewer organized institutions that facilitate connection. If people really want to go out of their way and find it or organize something themselves, they can still do that. But I think it's not done anymore the way that it used to be done.
I would agree with that.
So that's, when you talk about technology, that's kind of how I see that goes hand in hand with that. And
It's so, you can't, it's very hard to get information out. I mean, people will say to me, I didn't even
Right.
know you're there. And I was like, well, we used to put up a banner and try and do post here, there.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to reach everybody.
yeah.
And that's
With
why
all the
when you talk to
avenues.
people, you gotta say, hey, just a reminder, this and this event's happening, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tiring.
Well, that's this whole studio, just it's creating awareness about what's going on.
What's coming up
Yes.
soon. I love handing out water during the Flag Day 5K at the gas station.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, we're
just
talking
a
about
simple
that.
thing you can do for an event.
Yeah, little things.
Remind people of it, hand out some waters to people running, and just enjoy people who do it right.
Sarah, you said you moved here in '93. Do you remember anything that people would complain about in the '90s, mid '90s, late '90s, that would feel trivial now? Because we look around and people complain about everything, right?
I don't
But
remember a whole lot of complaining.
Was there the
honestly.
same level of sort of divisiveness? Was there
I don't
what did
think-
the local climate around political conversation, local issues? How did that? I don't know how engaged you were with it.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, I was involved with here, so indirectly, slowly involved with all of the mayors really since 1995 maybe, which is pretty astonishing. But no, I think, I don't remember complaining on the same level. It seems so petty, some of the I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe someone will say something to me, keep it to yourself too, I'm not
Right.
interested in getting into anything with anybody.
Yeah.
But I think people, there were little stores all, downtown, the little market that sold like produce. I can't remember his name. There was a little store that there was like stationery goods, and there were just, and of course there was Fowls, and there was just so many little stores that were so cool that we would go get stuff. Now, I mean, everything is so different. I just don't, people might have complained when there was like someone taking one of those little stores was being slowly sold for.
Oh, I got you on this one. If in 1993 the newspaper said they were getting rid of the comics and the Dear Abbeys,
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I purposely looked at the Daily News for the comics and who got arrested.
Yeah. They don't, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the rate of change, like you said, has increased lately, or it seems to have increased lately compared to when it was in the 90s.
yeah, I mean, not to bring mental health into it, but there is a lot more mental health issues with young people and with older people, and with sort of people all together, just feeling disconnected and disconnected. That is what I have
Yeah.
read or understand or feel myself. Just, it's hard to connect. And also, all the technology, I'm sorry, but it takes up so much time. I mean, email, God, someone shoot me. It's just like, oh, people get upset if you don't answer right away. Well, I'm sorry, I have 200 emails in my work box, 200 in my personal.
So
I'm
people
trying
are
to
more anxiety-ridden. People are more stressed. Maybe people
Don't you
feel
think?
more beholden to technology. Yeah, no, I agree
It
with
seems
you.
like, yeah, do you?
And maybe that makes them
I'm
more
resisting
tense.
the urge to look under the desk here and be like, maybe, no.
They're
What do you-
watching. Yeah, I mean,
Mental health, obviously, it has to be said when COVID lockdown happened that messed with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I kind of got lucky in a weird sense. I was bedridden during that time, and everyone kind of got brought down to my level. In terms of just everyone coming to the internet, musicians bringing more music and shows to the internet, trying to
see,
figure out
this-
how to do that the right
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And I think when we came out of COVID, a lot of that maybe just stayed on the internet.
Yes,
And we
no,
didn't- we never
exactly.
came back
It definitely
fully,
changed
and that's part of the
everything.
change.
And for a lot of it, it was good. I mean, yes, of course, if you were in your house, stuck in bed. That would be a nightmare. It just
People
opens
found
up
groups,
the world.
whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, whatever social media platform there was, and it just kind of probably slowly sizzled out by now. I know a few communities online have done that. Just
Yeah.
because, guess what? We can go outside again. We can do this.
Yeah, but there's still a lot. I still think, well, for us, I mean, of course, the cord cutting from cable, because streaming really picked up speed at COVID. I mean, we had planned on cord cutting over a certain amount of time. Yes, a certain amount of percentage of people dropping cable, but the streaming phenomena from COVID just, I mean, it went from 7,400 people subscribed to Comcast cable to about 4,000 now.
Yeah, it went from everyone illegally downloading stuff to, oh my, I can pay $5 to $7 a month and have access to all of this, and then someone told me I can't go outside?
Yeah, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to tie it to nostalgia again, I was reading a book about nostalgia. It's called Yesterday, and they basically say that the concept of nostalgia didn't really materialize until the 40s or 50s, post kind of World War II industrial society, and there's a lot of technological changes, and the world was changing really quickly. And those generations were the first people to even use and popularize the term nostalgia, and to incorporate it into political speech, even reflecting on the 20s and 30s and 40s, and whatever generation that they were in, the previous one, as a better time and a time we need to go back to. And the book I was reading says that basically the reason for that is because humans aren't equipped to deal with such rapid social and technological change. So that generation, mid-century, was the first to really grapple with that level of rapid change that quickly. So between when they were 60, 70 years old and when they were 18, 19, 20, they were essentially living in a completely different world technologically. So that is what kind of ignited this nostalgia for a previous time period. In no other generation was there such rapid change. So he basically says that the idea of nostalgia itself is the idea of how we cope with rapid social and technological change, and then applying that to our generation. Maybe the last generation that grew up, at least in our early childhood, without real computer technology, without iPhones, and now look at where we're at with AI. I think that we are a generation that is much more prone to nostalgia than perhaps any in human history.
Smarter child's gonna kick my butt someday.
Right. Yeah.
That little AI bot, give it another 20 years, it's gonna show up in a robot form at the gas station, be like, hey, remember me? Like, oh no.
It's almost inconceivable what a kid born today is gonna have for technology when they're our age. And I think that's a big part of it. So we look back at the stores that have changed, the businesses that have changed, what's not here, what is here, and I think we're uniquely prone to reminiscing in a way that maybe is
longing
unique.
for some control over your life.
Some control, exactly. Yeah. I think it comes down to control, and it raises the question: is nostalgia, preservation, in a good way, or is it just a form of selective forgetting of things that we wish were the way that they were when we were kids? And I don't know. That's a bigger question than we have to answer in the next 7 minutes. But
That's easy to answer. The preservation of everything good and proper. It's a hard
sounds like
hitter.
a Newburyporter.
I
Good
7th
proper.
grade, being at the IC, a tower got hit by an airplane. And next thing I know, when I'm going out of the school, I don't see any planes in the sky. I see National Guard right in front of the courthouse, in front of the mall. And I think to myself, the mall, just like maybe just the picture of the mall as it was then. I'm like, wow, that was a beautiful place in Newburyport. That should be preserved. As simple as that. That courthouse, the mall, as much as possible. If the IC church ever tried to get sold? Imagine like St. Louis Church or something like that. That got sold, turned to apartments. Should Newburyport consider doing anything with the IC Church? The Mission Oak was another church that got bought out, turned over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue into my last question, which, before Maeve kicks me off the air, I want to ask you guys. So if Newburyport could preserve one thing for the next 50 years, 100 years, what would you guys choose? Everything else has to go.
I would say
One thing
historic
stays.
architecture.
It could be the Mall. It could be
Either
park, it
the
could be-
library or the Coast Guard station. I feel like it has to
Well,
be
those
the
are two
Coast
good
Guard
things, too.
station, not just for Newburyport, not just for Essex County, not just for Massachusetts, not for New England, for the United States.
Amen.
The Coast Guard station.
Good.
Perfect blend of the local and national theme. That's good. We're back to that. Great. Are there any? We got like 2-3 minutes left, I think. Is there anything else you guys wanted to mention on the nostalgia topic before we close out?
The chicken veggie sub from Fowls over here, where Olives is now.
Oh, yes.
That's the one thing we'd preserve. The chicken veggie sub from Al's.
Let's see. I mentioned Mike's. So I was actually talking about a couple things here with my employees. We're both just like, have you ever been into Talbot's, that place across the street from the police station? Never been in there.
I've been in there, yes.
They're still
But
there going strong.
Yeah, no, they actually do. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I go in there because it's convenient for me, and I don't like to buy things online. I do, but I don't enjoy that as much. But it used to be a movie theater, right?
Looks like it from the facade.
It was. I think it was a movie theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny you bring up the Talbots.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you mentioned you talked about some of these questions with people from the gas
as
station.
I sit there and be like, does the Coast Guard station come with the tannery, and does the tannery come with the downtown, and just...
The tannery's a good thing too, but that was a good development, don't you think?
As I sit there and say, no one's going to get paid to do it, no one's going to be thanked to do it, but if you want to do that as a citizen, please help keep Newburyport on track. Whatever you think that is, push for it, do what you can. Don't burn yourself out doing it.
Too, very important.
That's a great way to close. Not just this episode, but the whole series. I love that.
Hey, Eben, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Between the Lines. Thanks to Steve and Sarah again for coming on, and our producer Maeve Power. Since it is our final episode, I want to thank everyone who's followed along this past year, everyone who's commented nice things or even told me that I suck at this. It's been a fun learning experience. There's been plenty of those people.
All those articles that you wrote.
It's all, oh yeah, we could get into all that. It's been fun. I've learned from all the guests, and hope you all have too. Thanks again to Sarah for giving me the opportunity, and all the guests for coming on. So I won't say see you next month like I usually do. I'll just say see you around town.